Hello and welcome to your Geek Show. I know that we had started a running theme of attempting to do some sort of like jam at the beginning of the show, but we're not doing that today. No. Because, here's why.
Hot let's go.
Yeah, so you can try. Okay, no. We need to at least have a conversation about it.
We don't even rehearse for it,
right.
which is the first time we actually do it. It's just on air.
I'm Miss Shannon. I'm here this morning with Jayden Satia, and our social media demon, Nikahotep Jones, is also here as well. Mr. Rob Callahan is not with us this morning because he is one of the guest of honor at Diversicon. So he is off being honored and on panels and such.
He is being honored, or he is an honorable panelist, honorable guest?
An honorable guest. He's
Okay.
an honorable guest.
Oh.
So, and he, I'm sure we'll hear lots of stories when he gets back. I told him, I said, please go and be charming. You were very capable of it when you put your mind to it. So.
Is he recording?
Huh?
Is he got a little recording thing to
I'm sure he'll have clips of things. He's doing
Surreptitiously.
some of the interviews and such as well with some of the other guests. So he's
There's
over
this
there.
void when he's not here.
Yes, a snarky void in the corner of the room. Is what's meant.
Do I have to fill that too?
No, you do that. You do well on
plenty
your own.
Just stick with what you do.
And before we get to our Geek of the Week story, I want to take a minute to briefly introduce our guest Geek of the Week, a good friend of the show, a good friend of mine and Nikahotep's, Jody Rylander, also known as Moose. Moose, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So we will be covering a number of things, including the Minnesota Vixen women's professional football team, fantasy football today, and we'll probably touch on at least some of our favorite Lego video games that have been released throughout the ages. But before we get to that, we have a couple Geek of the Week story, and Moose, feel free to chime in whenever you feel appropriate. So the first one that we want to make sure that we cover is that I just got to give Nikahotep a chance. We talked about it last week, his petition to free the mutants. So you can, on social media, see the hashtag.
That's still happening?
Yes.
Free the mutants. Free them.
They haven't been
signed it.
freed yet?
They have not been freed
Oh, look,
yet.
we have a guest who's already signed it.
Yeah.
I brought you a new theme song.
Oh, thank you.
Everybody put your hand up and wave.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I see life and make them true. Come on, free the mutants. Oh, we have.
Why
Sing
do-
along, your Geek Show.
Why do you got to be so backhanded?
Those mutants do not belong to you. I do not belong to you. Sing it. Free the mutants, your Geek Show. Everybody listening, put your hand up. That's right. Come on. So if you are not familiar with our petition, so last week, our social media demon, Nikahotep, came up with a brilliant idea because he felt that the mutants were unrightfully being held hostage by 20th century by Fox.
By Fox.
Yeah,
Fox
so
just
feel
does
free to bring everybody up to speed.
Fox does a bad job with their X-Men properties, their Fantastic Four properties, their Deadpool property. I mean, although the Deadpool
the leaked trailer does look good.
The leaked footage looks good. However, with that defense, in their defense, they did co-produce that with Marvel. So Marvel has a heavy hand in that. So my petition is that 20th Century Fox needs to sell those rights back to Marvel so Marvel can start to produce those things. Because it has a larger impact across other things like comic books, toys, a lot of other parts of the geek universe, if we can say that.
So you started a petition, yeah?
Yeah, so he did start it. It's Fox must free Fantastic Four, X-Men, and Deadpool, and others. And it was 20th Century Fox needs to release the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, and Deadpool, and other Daredevil, Elektra, etc. from incarceration and sell the rights back to the rightful owners, Marvel, is what he said. And it is a very well thought out, very well written petition that you can find on moveon.org. You can also find it on our Facebook fan page, Your Geek Show MN, and on our website, Your Geek Show. And he is very respectful to Fox and saying that they do have the ability to tell a great spy story. He talks about Mr. and Mrs. Smith and that they are good at chick flicks. He brings up Devil's Wears Prada, but he says that they should give back these other rights because that is not what they have have their best work
It's not their wheelhouse.
No, it is not their wheelhouse. And so I wanted to give him an opportunity to let us know how his petition, we've had a week now of being able to promote
How many
it.
thousands of signatures do you have?
9.
9,000?
I'm up. No, 9 signatures.
Aw, really?
Well, I think that's pretty good.
How do you feel about that?
That's more than one a day.
That is true.
That's more than one a day.
That is true.
So you
So
know,
make your case again as to why.
I'm just saying that it has a larger impact because that's the other thing. Mutants are actually no longer being created at Marvel.
Correct?
So they're not allowed. Marvel writers are not allowed to create any more new mutants. They're actually ending the Fantastic Four title. So the Fantastic Four title is actually slated to be terminated. So
I
mean,
feel you, Nikahotep. I feel you.
Oh my goodness! I've heard this voice before. I've heard this voice before. So all I can say is sign my petition.
Okay.
And help me encourage people to give back to Marvel.
So we
'Cause-
will-
At least get to double digits.
Yes, we will make sure this week that we put a little juice behind your petition because I am not anti your petition. I think this is a very positive use of your talents compared to what you normally spend your time doing. So I want to support you in this.
Grassroots. It's
Yes,
grassroots.
exactly.
Let's double his signatures.
Okay,
by
Yes.
next
if we
week.
can, okay,
Yes.
I think that's
18.
good.
18.
Okay, so
18.
if we can double it by next week, we will check in
We'll
again.
just keep doubling it every single
Well,
week.
Yes, because we have to get to 50 before they'll actually send it.
Before it's a legit thing.
Yes.
Well, and the other thing is actually, there's been a couple other articles out there saying, the side mutants like Angel and Cyclops from the movies were not done justice.
Yes.
And I've been talking to some of Miss Shannon's friends when she brings me around because I'm bound to her and,
Yes.
and her necklace. And
Yes, he will bend any of my friends' ear about how mistreated the mutants and the other properties, and Psylocke doesn't look right, and all this stuff. He's done a lot of it.
She looks like a cow in purple.
She does.
Yes.
And it's
a travesty.
It is.
It is.
It truly is.
So I'm glad. I have no problem with what you're working on. This particular project, I fully support you. So yes, I think that is a very attainable goal for
18.
the show. 18.
18.
If we can double the signatures by next week, I think that's what we
We
should
need
do.
our listeners to just go do this so we can see the glee on his face
Yes.
next week.
Yes.
Right,
Make,
so we
make
will-
a demon happy.
There
We
you
will
go.
work on that. So the next thing we want to hit on briefly is the our next Geek of the Week story is the movie Pixels. Now, the movie
best
Pixels.
movie
ad-
ever.
I love the
Boo.
sarcasm, and you're right. So I think that everyone here at the table will say we had very low expectations for this movie. Did anybody expect it to be like an amazing, award-winning film? Were we expecting it to be like a laugh riot, just amazing? No? Crickets? Right.
Crickets.
Okay. And so the thing that I do
Kevin
find...
Smith as president. Or not Kevin Smith, Kevin.
Exactly.
Kevin James.
James,
James.
sorry.
Even
Yes,
better.
Mall Cop.
Yeah.
Mall Cop.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Paul Blart.
I am so fascinated with the fact that it is so terrible. That's what I think it is. That critics are lambasting it, that there are 10-minute ranty tirades all over the interwebs about how terrible this movie is. Because I think that people expected it to be meh.
Well, do you think the creators, the filmmakers, the writers also expected it to be so bad? Then they were like, you might as well greenlight this. This is so horrible. It's going to get some press regardless.
I feel like that's giving them too much credit, because what I feel like is that they thought that it was going to at least be marginally amusing. Because if you read the pre-stories that were coming about as we were going into this box office weekend, and so just to set the landscape, last week Ant-Man
Yep.
did a real train wreck, the Amy
Yep.
Schumer movie, and so they're going, okay, the two new movies that are going to be thrown into the fray. So we're going to have Pixels was one of them. Like, was it going to be able to knock any of those films out of the
Right.
way? So I don't feel like they were presenting it like it was supposed to be atrocious. They thought that it would be a marginally well-produced,
compete.
No worse
humorous
than
movie.
than a regular Adam
Correct.
Sandler movie.
Yeah. So the
right?
fact that there is such a backlash of how horrible it is, and not only is it horrible, it is ruining people's childhood because it's taking these historic, video game characters that a lot of us grew up going, oh my gosh, I have this emotional attachment to Pac-Man because it was, I
Oh
wanted
God,
to see it.
it's Gem all over again.
And that's what it is that people are so frustrated now when you take something that it's the fact that Transformers pissed us all off, but you didn't have this kind of backlash with it. Now they're saying, I loved Qbert, and this is what you did. And not only do they hate that, the fact that it's, from a feminist point of view, that the way that they portray women in it are not only stupid, there's hardly any female characters in it, but that we are literally trophies in this film has so many women mad about it as well.
And that Qbert turns into one.
Yes, because they just have to figure out a reason why Gad's character gets the girl at the end, so
There's
they
a
turn
lot
her
of
kind of
great actors if you just put them like aside. There's
Yes.
really great actors individually on their own films, but they're all decided to come and partake in this particular film. Why is that?
Well, I think the concept itself probably could have worked.
Yes.
I think it
Similar concepts have worked. So taking
Wreck-It
something
Ralph.
that they, so there have been, opportunities like this where you're like, okay, that's really neat, or you bring back something that, a new spin on it.
Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I mean, where it's an alien invasion that attacks the planet, and you have high-profile people that are in it and they fight back.
And you can go all the way in and have it turn to camp and have some joy and
Right.
whimsy in a property. And I think that that's
There's a
part of what's
strategic
lacking
way
as
of
well.
doing that.
Right.
Right.
This was not that.
No.
at
No,
all.
lean into the silliness.
I mean, this is like
the
me-
Sharknado effect. Like lean into it,
Right.
Right.
and then you're fine. So the fact that this just falls flat, they're like, I don't think that was the
Well,
intention,
this is like giving me a camera and saying, Nikahotep, go make a movie.
and we would not do that.
Nope.
Nope.
Ever. Never.
So disappointed. So from a an 80s baby perspective, and also as a woman, we were both mad at that. And I think that we'll use that as part of our transition as we move to our guest geek of the week, our friend Jody Rylander. Moose is here with us, and we are so happy that you were here.
Thank you.
Moose, belly up to the microphone.
Absolutely.
As background of our friend Moose, I like the sports theme because what you should also know about Moose is that she is a proud member of the Minnesota Vixen women's professional football team. The Minnesota Vixen, the longest running women's professional football team in the country.
Possibly the world.
In their 17th season?
Yes.
17th
18th.
season.
That's some
No,
badass
18th, there we go.
Wow.
18th season.
Yep.
Full contact, full pad, full tackle sports is what it is what the Minnesota
Oh my
Vixen.
gosh.
Moose has been with them for 16
Yep.
seasons.
On the field.
Yes.
But all 18 in the back office.
Yeah, so she is also formerly management, former team captain, just all around involved with the Minnesota Vixen football team. And I was happy to meet her when I had an opportunity to play for them briefly here in the Twin Cities, and does a fantastic job. I wish I had time to continue to play. You guys do great
How many
work.
positions have you played?
Oh
the
boy,
team?
probably everything except quarterback. At one time or another, I have to give a shout out to Miss Shannon, who is actually one of the best backward runners I've ever
Oh.
seen.
Yeah.
it's a skill.
Yeah.
it's it's a skill.
I'm a defensive back.
Why were
Yeah.
you running backwards?
Because it's backpedaling, and so you do a lot of
backpedaling. Oh, I got you.
backpedaling, and
Yeah.
so the
Thought you were
positions
gonna
that
run
I
into your own
played.
end zone.
No, no. So I mean, I primarily played as a defensive back, and so that you do a lot of and being able to run quickly as you backpedal. So thank you very much,
Yeah,
Moose. I
you're
appreciate
welcome.
that.
Yeah, the hip swivel. It's
Yes,
important.
and I do miss it. It is one of the things that I really, if I had spare time, I would go back to playing for them. I miss a fantastic group of women. They do a lot for encouraging young girls to be able to do anything you want and know that. They do a lot in the community, going out and talking to girls groups and things like that. And I really applaud the Minnesota Vixen for what they do.
So I had some basic questions.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
got some questions too.
My turn.
Fire away.
Yes.
Oh,
Where do you guys play?
We play
And
at.
is it like an actual league kind of a thing, just like
yeah,
NFL?
yeah.
So
So
talk a
it's-
little bit about basic novice who've heard of the Vixen, but never come to see you guys in action.
Sure. So we play at Simley High School in Inver Grove Heights. We just signed a 2-year contract with them last year. So we played there last year and we'll play there this next year. We have about 40 to 50 women on the active roster at any given time. And we'll have tryouts coming up in September and October this year. If you've never seen us, it's not powder puff. It's not flag. It is my defensive end is about 5'10" and 190 pounds. My defensive tackle, the interior defensive line person, is about 6 feet tall and 350 pounds. So we played against a couple teams this year that had running backs, meaning the people who, are supposed to be lighter and smaller and kind of nimble. Well, we had one running back who was 260 pounds and stood about 5'11". So
so touch football and the fact that you touch me and I'm on the floor.
No, this is I put on. I actually wear the shoulder pads, the same shoulder pads that Pierre Garçon and I can't think of his name, the running back for St. Louis, wear. It's a new. They're using a carbon fiber technology that you see in the walls of airplanes.
Yeah.
So it's super light and super strong. And then underneath it, they've used automotive foam like you find in car seats to pad a shirt. So it's a compression shirt that's padded with automotive foam with a carapace like for that bugs have. That's what they call the protective thing on a bug. They call it the carapace. Sorry, went way off into
no.
We don't know all that stuff. See?
So with a carapace that goes over the top via Velcro, so you can take technically a 1,500-pound impact with this. Although we never get quite that. We don't
velocity.
We're
not getting hit like a
right.
Some of the
brutal.
ladies are big, but we're not getting hit
brutal.
by
VW
VW bucks.
And
like that.
I've seen lots of injuries over the years.
I was going to say that's
Yeah.
got to be norm, just like
gosh.
any football.
Yeah,
anything.
I think in the early years it was much more prevalent, right? Because you had women who'd never really played, lots of them had played rugby and soccer and hockey at really high levels, and you get some contact there, but you're not actually physically trying to knock someone's head off in those sports. Well,
There's
most
specific
people aren't.
techniques with football.
Yeah,
right.
that
Correct.
You have to learn.
Correct. Like there's a new focus in the sport as a whole across boys and girls to say it's called heads-up football. And so you have to see what you hit. You have to keep your head up when you come in for a tackle because when you put your head down, you lead with the crown of your head, and that's how you paralyze yourself and end up with lots of problems.
Right.
So the I think the motto, is making the game safer, not softer. Right. So let's not kill anybody, but let's still give those hits that people really like to see.
Because I think that's, when people hear about women's pro football, they just presume that we're a lot softer. And it's just a matter of scale, though, as well.
Right.
So, yeah, it's not the same as if you go and you watch the NFL. I mean, if you're talking about those guys. But it is, it moves really fast. But it's also a great opportunity, for, because of the price point and the thing that we could just do. You can bring the family and you can hang out. And so it's... it's a great day to go hang outside and watch, some really good football.
Yeah, Saturday nights in the spring, we could probably get a family of 4 in the door for under $50, and that's not
great.
something
Wow.
you can say for a lot of things.
Right.
Full on, like 4 quarters.
Yeah,
the
whole thing.
Like nothing different from
no.
any other.
Yeah, it's,
Commentators doing play-by-play,
Do they have
everything going on.
Yeah, we even have live web stream with Town Square TV. You can
Is there
Yeah.
food? Is there food?
absolutely
Yeah, there's a
concessions.
concession
Yeah,
stand.
burgers, brats.
He's
yes,
like, is there
Nicahotep,
snacks?
you can eat.
It's
Yeah.
a high school, so is there alcohol?
No
Right.
alcohol, but we have there's a bar down the street that
You can come afterwards
Yes,
and hang out.
totally.
And meet some of the players.
yep
Very cool.
Yeah.
So what's the so how many games in a season?
Yep, regular season is 8 games,
'Kay.
and we play 4 home and 4 away. In the league, the Independent Women's Football League, they have 39 teams across the country at various levels of participation. So we're a full member, and we also have affiliates who maybe play a few less games a season, but are working their way toward full member status. There's a football association in Guam that's kind of hanging off the side of us as a development kind of thing. We the NFL knows of us. In fact, Franco Harris, a former Pittsburgh Steelers player, owns and operates the Pittsburgh Passion, one of the stronger
Very
teams in the
cool.
league. So we have the eyes of the NFL, and whether we actually ever get to that kind of crazy professional status someday, I don't know. But
But it'd be kind of cool for them to recognize you guys at one of their bigger games, Thanksgiving
Right.
Day.
Yeah,
Just bring you guys out.
And there's been, articles written in ESPN magazine. There's been profiles and documentaries that have done on the league and the team. So it's really just a lot of times getting the word out again, because we have been around for so long, and it's so funny that a lot of people don't know.
We should talk about the documentaries off time. Just if you have good documentaries, good films, we're obviously curating for the film festival right now.
Oh.
I run the Twin Cities Film Festival.
yeah.
We'd love to see if anything would be viable for us to show this year.
there's a documentary called True Hearted Vixens.
You said there was no.
I
us
know
in
I said
Vixen.
but the documentarian was not so bright,
Right.
and so
Did not look up.
did not
Yeah.
look up that. And actually, the first season we were called the Vixens with an S, which those of us who understood the rules of plurality and grammar changed the next season. But so it's called True Hearted Vixens, and it's our first season, and it's about an hour long, done by a woman, Melaine Moreno. You can look it up.
I will.
It was a PBS POV.
I think our audiences should look it up too. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
on.
It-
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll
totally.
make sure we
It's
put
on
up all
the-
the links.
it's on
And
the
you,
line. Yeah.
I mean, you also want to let people know that it's not like this is something that you do for the love of the game, being part of this. This community that you end up when you end up on the
Yes.
team as well. We're
Yes.
not getting paid. Like, people always ask me, like, are you making any money? It's like, no, I had to find sponsors so that I wasn't coming out of pocket.
So nonprofit.
For this.
Yeah,
Yes.
nonprofit.
Very
Yeah.
much so.
Did the Vixen have any major rivals in the league?
Yeah, we actually have a couple. A new team this year, the Nebraska Stampede. They're the ones with the 260-pound running back. They are going to be a big contender. We always have a really strong rivalry with the Madison team, the Blaze. We split with them during the regular season this year, and actually they just lost the third place game last night in South Carolina, where actually some of my teammates are playing right now in the second half of the All-Star game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So who made it to the All-Star game this year?
Very deservingly, our quarterback, Emily Evans, our head coach, Brandon Palinka, defensive tackle, Red Bryant, safety, Aaron Tilford, and running back, inside linebacker, Jeannie Nelson. Oh, and I cannot forget line woman, left tackle, offensive line, Courtney Gibson Thomas.
And yeah, I mean, the Vixens have always been, a team to be reckoned with. Because when I first started playing football, I actually played when I lived in Austin, in Texas. And so I played for the Austin Rage, and we came all the way here and played against them. So it was, that was one of the few games where I got my bell rung. I was like, whoa, I got hit hard.
Did you get hit by the moose?
No, I didn't get hit by the moose. No, so I didn't get hit by the moose. I don't remember who hit me, but I remember
It's probably Red.
Maybe.
Were you running on offense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna stay on defense.
So that- so that-
What a backpedal.
Because I knew how to play slot. Like the last season that I was supposed to play for the Vixen, just before, because I stopped playing when I found out that I was gonna have the baby.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. I guess I'm not gonna play football.
Good choice.
Yeah. And so so I was gonna play slot.
Got
And
it.
do offense. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is the girl that gets hit again. I don't do that. I'd rather hit people. I liked that better. I
Wanna
just
be a
was one of those
coach.
people.
Don't
Yeah.
get hit.
Yeah, right. And so,
That explains a lot.
yes. And so I was like, not so much on the slot, but it was fun. And it is something that is it's contagious once you start playing. And
It's
when you
hard
talk
to
people.
get rid of
Oh,
out of your
gosh,
blood.
yeah.
What are some other misconceived notions about women football? Because then you guys talked about being it's not touch, it's not flag, it's not soft, it's actually legit everything. Obviously, you can go to the extreme of
It's not lingerie.
It's
No. Oh my
don't-
gosh,
don't
the
get,
lingerie football team
lingerie
makes me so
football.
mad.
It
Okay,
does, yeah.
okay, I'm going to go one whenever because people the lingerie football league because it was an MTV property.
Yes.
Lots of people knew what that was. And so when I would go and say, yeah, I play football, they'd go, oh, you play for, no, I do not play for the Valkyrie, which was the local lingerie football league. And so that's a backhanded compliment, because it means, okay, I don't care that you play sports, but I don't find the concept of you in your underwear loathsome. So that's what that is.
Right.
You half naked, I'd come watch. Because I had played football for a while and nobody cared. And then they thought maybe I played in my underwear and then they show up.
Right.
But the other thing that bothers me so much about it is that the skill set and the athleticism of the women who play in the lingerie football league is surprisingly high, because you have a lot of people that were former fitness models. You have people that used to play, MMA fighters, and so there are a lot of people
They're
who
athletic.
actually they're very athletic, and but they're playing in without all the pads, so they're playing in unsafe conditions, and they've turned it into the fact that they have to add in this air of misogyny to get attention bothers me so much, because the Vixen and other teams in the women's professional football league and the international women's all these other leagues have been around for so long, and people still don't know that they exist.
Right.
But if we show up in our underwear, then everybody wants to pay attention.
Oh, yeah, right.
So it's very frustrating. It's
Right.
very frustrating, and it makes you kind of go, okay, this world sucks. But yeah, I mean, I know I have some friends that did some marketing for that league, and a lot of the
Was that only for one season or a couple seasons or something?
two,
maybe
and I think there's some
3.
places around the country that they still
The
have some
Chicago
teams.
team is
Yeah.
still active. I thought
Active against who? Just themselves?
right?
Yeah.
Well, that's another league entirely. But,
Right.
I think the best picture I saw was the Green Bay lingerie team tryouts, where literally everyone who tried out looked like they'd eaten an entire case of bratwurst right before trying out. Right?
Right.
And I'm looking at the pictures, and it's these gigantic women who you would want to see play for the Vixen.
Right.
Right? And I'm like, that's really not what they were thinking. But you go, girls. You,
Right.
Right.
And that made me think, why wasn't somebody from Green Bay going, hey, we've got a team I think they've got a team that's pretty close to Green Bay, like Hayward or something. And
Go,
why
why
wasn't
if you want to
right?
play, we have an opportunity for it.
We
For
actually
you
have
really
a team
to play, right?
football.
Yeah,
Right.
because I think that a lot of the women that end up on the team, you kind of luck into it. Because when I first found out
Yeah, I was
about
going to
it,
ask you about what's the recruitment for you guys?
because when I was living in Texas, the way that it worked, because Texas is clearly such a football state.
Crazy for
But
it.
I met some women that were on the team. I played a lot of other sports, but I, of course, didn't play football. And so they were like, hey, you should come to try out. And then that was when I was on the radio, and the guys that I worked with were like, you can't play football. Like, they had no problem with me playing all these other sports, but then all of a sudden I mentioned football, and they weren't jocks either. So what do they know? They could barely say football and had no. I was the one that at least
Right.
understood
Yeah.
it. Yeah, they were
Right.
not
Right.
jocks.
No, they were
Yeah,
not jocks.
No. And so I go, I'm going to so just because I refuse to have you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, I'm going to go try out. And I made the team.
She does
and,
that.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah,
Right?
I'm hard-headed as hell. I know that.
I just say, you can't do that. And she's like, oh, watch me.
me.
Right.
Yeah,
It's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Moose is like, I understand that. And so I made the team, and then and had a great season and really enjoyed it, and then ended up moving back here to Minnesota. And when I found out because I knew about the Vixen, and just because I respected them, I probably could have just shown up and said, hey, y'all should let me play, but I didn't. I went to tryouts.
Sure.
I didn't say, hey, I'm a Shannon, or I used to do this. I just went to tryouts and just made the team. And
It's the
so
best way to earn respect.
yeah, so I think that's, and it's us telling the story and saying that we play, and people see photos of it, or you go and you talk to a school and then you meet somebody that's, a high school senior, and then they end up being our quarterback, and so it's the way
Yeah,
that
is there
from
age limits?
Only an upper age, or I'm sorry, only a lower age limit.
Okay.
You have to be 18 to play.
Got
You
it.
can play at 17 with your parents' permission. Actually, this year we did have a 17-year-old play for us,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah, and her parents signed the waiver and came to every single freaking game, including all of the away games. And
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they drove to freaking Nebraska to watch their daughter.
Because it is
play.
freaking Nebraska.
It is,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And we all went to her high school graduation about 3 weeks ago.
that's
And
Nice.
see, that's the great thing about women's football as a whole, right? You become part of this family for life. You get 60 new sisters every year. You build those relationships for a lifetime. Like the people, I was a member of the very first team back in 1999. And so some of those women I still have relationships with. One of them's living in my basement right now. And I have to just... the feeling and the camaraderie that you build over time is unparalleled. I don't think it happens in any other sport.
I agree because I mean
Football
I
fans?
haven't played in oh my gosh, it's 7 years now. 'Cause I'm 7 and they still are like, do you want to play? What do you do? Are you if I need something, I know I can still call, and if they
Any
need
of
something,
us.
I will I will
It's like
do
a
it.
close-knit sorority.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
In the
With,
best
with
possible
shoulder
way.
pads.
Yeah, well, what, Alpha Delta Tackle? I don't know. But
I like that.
I think we should do that. That's what our
Right,
T-shirts will be
Alpha
made.
Delta Tackle. Right.
So are they like obviously with the NFL, it's kind of ramping up, and the preseason literally right around the corner, which is ridiculous. Like it's barely summer isn't over yet.
Right.
Like fantasy football is huge right now, right? Fantasy
Yes.
anything is huge. So obviously baseball, hockey, you name it, there's fantasy stuff. Is there, because you're a nonprofit, do you guys have like your own fantasy stuff that like for the your league itself? Or
Yeah, we had a very small experiment happen this past season. Someone not even connected with the league, said, "Hey, let's do fantasy." And so the problem is that because we're not all at the same level of organization, right? I have some people who some teams who can barely get the game going, much less think about recording stats during the week.
Right.
Sure.
And then you have us, the Vixen, who are, really on top of it and watch the film and say, no, that's a half sack and that's 3.9 yards, right? So for the teams that are good at stats, someone said, look, if you will report your stats, we'll try this fantasy thing. So there was a place where you could go, I think it was free, and it was more like a rotisserie league where you kind of average the player performance than it was a player by player league. But it worked. I had a couple people who did it, and they're like, yeah, it wasn't anything like a Yahoo Sports fantasy football for
But
the
I'm
NFL.
thinking about for the audience members or any of the people who come to a game, they have an added element of ownership in you or your success, or your team's success, or a hatred of the other player.
right.
Because I think that is all about. It's all about. That's what fantasy football is, right? It gets you in a little bit.
Yes.
And I
That's very
think,
true.
when we're, because we were, if you haven't done fantasy football, because I am a very, very, just dipped a toe in the fantasy football. And so if you want to know more about the game or have an excuse to learn about teams that aren't your biggest you're not the biggest fan of, I do think that fantasy football is really good for that. And so the people like Moose, how long have you been doing, were you doing fantasy football before there were apps and all of this stuff we had to have a thing?
Yeah,
so
paper graph.
yeah, so
paper,
back in the day, what was it like? I know it was very manual. That was before I was doing it.
Yeah, so I mean, fantasy football's been around for what, 20 years, give or take. And so back in the day, somebody had to be your commissioner and do all this work to compile, USA Today would print their annual football thing, which much like a car was old the second it got put on the newsstand.
Right.
But they would have to compile that stuff. They'd have to get everybody in a room. You'd have to do a draft. You did a manual draft. I mean, today you don't even have to be in the same room to do a draft. Right.
We did it all on our computers.
Exactly.
I'm so techie about the whole thing now. I don't know how you kept track of.
Right. Right. And then there also wasn't. The NFL would publish their stats, but the commissioner would have to go to the NFL website, download the stats, do all the math, and now you can do percentage points for yards. Like the guy gets 1.6 yards on the carry, he gets 1.6 yards as a running back in your fantasy league.
Right.
Before that, it was just 2 yards. I think that was 3, and But what was fun is it made you just so interested in the numbers, and you had to strategize a lot more about the full strength of your team. I mean, now today you can draft like a Wes Welker or a Tom Brady and have him carry you through certain situations, right? And you can pick up and drop a player.
I can have Tom Brady carry me?
In certain situations.
Yeah,
certain
situations.
Right.
Yes. So,
like if hell froze over.
Or as in Ted 2, if you needed his sperm or something.
Right.
Exactly.
Sneak up on him if he's sleeping. But I think that what fascinates me about fantasy football is when we're talking about geekdoms. I feel like that's one that is very comparable to the situation about, me and Doctor Who, or people that are very into Star Wars, because it is something that people like you have been doing for so long, and you would know all these stats and put so much effort into it, and it would really give you an insight into the game and the way that the players were performing, and having this sense of ownership. And I'm really going to know what happens from game to game across this entire league. That's a commitment.
Yeah, it is.
That is a very geeky commitment that you're going to do.
Because let's say you're in an auction league, right? And you get $100 to spend on.
What's an auction league?
So an auction league says you get a set amount of money, fake money at the beginning of the draft, and you have to bid for your players, and you win the auction. So someone says, Peyton Manning $1, and then he probably in a $100 auction league he probably goes for $80.
Okay,
and so you have to budget because you have to pay at least $1 per player, and you need 14 to 16 players on your roster.
Gotcha.
Across all the positions. So
this is that one big player could potentially carry you if you believe enough.
Correct. Yeah, but you also have to know a lot about the sleepers and the guys who maybe are going to have a breakout week in week 7 when they're playing St. Louis, who's got a defense that matches up better with his style of play.
Or if your main player has a bye week, then that week you end up, you don't get anything on this guy that's your guy.
Or what if someone gets hurt?
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Or the tendency of getting hurt in the past.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But he's amazing if he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, right?
Oh my God, this is so complex.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's fascinating. And I do like that, technology has opened up this particular geekdom for people. Because now you can dip your toe in the water of fantasy football. Because you can go to a Yahoo or an ESPN.
You can do the basic one where here, put me in a league. I don't really care where.
Auto draft, yeah.
Auto
draft it, and then once a week I'll check where I am, and I'll make I might put this player in just because I like him or whatever,
totally.
and then I'm just gonna check out for 2 weeks,
Right.
Yeah.
and then maybe somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. And then you've got, DraftKings.com, who came out last year with the one week team concept, right? So you pay like $50, you get 1 week of a team, and you can win like $1 million off of something you put together in one day.
I was going to ask that. Do people do this for money?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. So, Vegas, the hosts draft parties, for they advertise football fantasy draft packages at casinos. Yeah.
So
it's huge.
If let's say I don't normally fantasy football, but I like football and I want to do a little bit more this season and just kind of have another thing to do as I'm watching the game. So where's a good starter place for me to do? Like, what's the best site, do you think, to just start?
I would say I've had the best experience with Yahoo because they've got a really good app. ESPN is okay, but
by the way, let's pause right there.
Yeah.
Now it's apps.
Yes, it's all
No,
apps.
that's just ridiculous,
She's sitting
'cause,
there with graph paper and all this stuff.
When people are working their normal 9 to 5, 9 to 7s, 9 to 8s, whatever they work. And by the way, everybody knows this. If you're working 8 hours a day, you're really working 3.5. There's like that power hour in the morning, and then there's that power hour right after lunch.
Yep.
And then somewhere in the middle, there's like another hour.
Right.
What are they doing for the other 5
They're
hours?
sitting on their app.
Checking their app, seeing who's
And trying to trade
who's
somebody.
And this
on
is where the
injured list.
geekdom comes into
Right.
play. They're all geeks about this particular thing. And now it's so accessible to be a geek about fantasy football. They have apps, and the easiest apps. And you get little pings. And what happens when your phone goes off for anything? You have to check it.
Yeah,
Mines are wired now to check them.
Right.
And there's a rush, and there's a low. So,
And
so
DirecTV, actually, you can put in your players on the system, and it will pop up a little red button that says
Bob's
this person played.
Oh,
and this
neat.
person
I didn't
scored.
know that.
Yeah, so you put in your team, and if something happens, even if you're not watching that game, you get a little button on the side of your TV that says, "Wait, Wes Welker just scored a touchdown."
And that
you
was
just
part
earned 10 points.
Yeah.
That was part of what I did like about doing fantasy football last season, because I already watch games, but I watch the games I care about. So I'm like,
Right.
Packers are playing, I'm gonna watch the Packers, or I hate this team, I'm gonna watch them just to see if they get beat, but it made me pay attention to players that I wouldn't normally because I ended with a bunch of people on the Panthers. And I'm like, I don't pay any attention to that team.
Right.
Nothing.
Now I have to.
Right. I'm like, who's this dude? Okay. It's like, but then I was one of those people because I was very casual about it. I picked people that I had an emotional attachment to, even though they weren't the best.
Were they hot?
Well, they're all, yes, sure.
Athletic men.
Yes, they were.
Athletic men.
In tight pants.
In tight
All
pants.
of them. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
Didn't care.
Like the jerseys that year.
Yeah.
Oh, pretty.
He picks teams based upon the color of their outfits. That's
But you were
he
talking
doesn't
about,
even call them uniforms. He
Some of
just
the
calls them
easiest
outfits.
way to get involved in
Yeah.
fantasy football.
Yes.
You said Yahoo Sports, they have an app,
Yep.
and then I interrupted you.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's okay. So go to Yahoo, and because you don't have to know anybody else to have a
good
team
enough.
at Yahoo.
Okay.
Right? You can just say, I want to be part of a team. Yahoo will say, here's 10 other people who want to also be part of a team. And they'll put you in a league, they'll auto draft, and then you just watch. And you get the same ability to trade and drop players and all that stuff. So that's what I would say. Go to Yahoo.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. I might
So
try that.
if somebody's a geek about it, where do
Mm-hmm.
they go? And again, they're actually putting their own money into this.
Yeah.
Obviously, you said DraftKings is one.
Yeah.
But obviously, by the way, in Vegas, you can gamble on anything.
Yes.
Right? Just like anything. Anything whatsoever to do with football, you can gamble on.
Right.
But for an expert fantasy football player, like where would they go, or where do they kind of live?
Yeah, they've probably played in the same league with the same bunch of guys for a long time. And
Okay, so they even know like personalities of the other players.
Of the players, right? So my brother, who is a pretty big fantasy football geek, does 5 fantasy football teams every year. And the
That's
buy-in,
insane.
yeah, and the buy-in.
How
so
do you
he's-
manage?
I know,
was
right?
like,
He's-
how
I'm
do you
like,
manage
have to
one?
manage
He's got
100
5.
players.
Right.
What's your deal? He's like, well, I try to keep the same players across the leagues, and I'm like, well, that makes no sense to me,
Right.
Because
if one team's doing poorly now, it's doing
they're
poorly
all
against all
doing
your league.
Wow.
but
I
one
don't
of
have
his-
that kind of commitment.
right?
I would probably
Yeah.
still be married.
Yeah.
if
By
I
the way,
did.
time
Yeah.
management.
Well,
Yes.
he's single, so yeah.
But that's why I'm saying,
And
and that's
you
why I
wonder
think it's very
why.
complimentary geekdoms because the fact that if you're super into this, you're into it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
you're spending money. You're buying all the trade mags. You're reading.
they
FS
talk
Sports.
about. I've had a
Yeah.
couple of where they talk about it like it's real, like their team
Oh,
is
yeah.
real the same way that I go, hey, did
Yeah.
you see what happened last week on? Like when you want me to shut up because I talk about the doctor like he's a real person, they talk about it like they're legitimately the captain of. They're the manager of this team. They're making sure they're making trades. They're out there. You would think that it's. And it
They're
is
actually
real to
man-
them. So it
they are
is. Yeah.
technically managing a team.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, if you're watching NFL Network and you see those commercials where they show the funny, the fantasy football team owners who are crying because they're doing badly, it's not. It's humorous if you're not really into fantasy football, but if you are an owner of a team and invested
You know
any
the
kind of
pain.
time and passion, you feel that pain, man. The guy who's banging his head in the shower with his team named behind the steel curtain, you get that. Yeah.
So have there been a lot of people who have made a lot of money?
Yeah, I know that the DraftKings that we've been talking about, they paid out that $1 million last year. I think a guy won.
They probably made
They probably-
500
right,
million.
exactly, right. I know that Vegas is making buck on it because you, let's say it's 10 guys at $250 a pop going out to Vegas to have their draft and
Staying at the hotel.
Right.
Yeah. They wouldn't do it if they weren't making money.
right.
So what time of year does this really start? Like when do people start doing their fantasy football drafts? And things like that?
My hubby and I have started thinking about who we're gonna pick on our team.
Okay.
We just started because mini camps are kind of done, OTAs
Right.
are happening, so you're gonna come in and go, okay, what does preseason look like? And then your draft probably happens between the first week of August and Labor Day.
Okay.
And there's that emotional connection between you loving a certain player, but you also knowing that player will probably not have the best season ever.
And Jay Cutler, yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe you like him.
obviously-
He's
No.
so moody.
Oh, he's
Your
like
big
a trucker.
cry.
He's
Oh,
like
your
a-
big
he-
crybaby
oh, no.
quarterback.
He's
Oh.
I call him morose man.
Yes. I'm all like,
but
meh, meh.
So,
I love
I'm-
it when he loses, though. I love it.
say
When
I'm
they-
married to a Chicago Bears fan. So this is the problem with fantasy football. You love a team. You absolutely love a team. Now, would I love to have Adrian Peterson on my team every year? Absolutely. But you can't because I can't justify spending 90% of my auction money on one player who, if he goes down, I'm done.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So
You should tell that to the Vikings.
I know, right?
So, right. Them and their little mini quarterback
Right,
and
but-
AP. That's all they got this season. So,
Right? Teddy and the P.
I like to call him.
All right, so who is your kind of sleeper this year? Just if you want to put it out there.
Oh,
into the
I would
verse.
say look at somebody in the Indianapolis Colts.
Ah,
Okay.
okay.
I'd say look at the Colts receivers. I would say look at Seattle.
Seattle's always has been good for the past.
Has been
few
good.
years.
I think Russell Wilson's going to have another fantastic year. But again, he's going to be primo on the.
Right.
He's going to be first to go. I haven't looked at the defenses yet, but and
like Richard
people.
Sherman.
No, so when you
Just
draft
overall
fantasy
defense, I
football,
gotcha.
you draft a defense.
I gotcha.
You don't draft individual defensive players.
okay.
And people, please, defenses and kickers, don't spend more than $5.
Oh yeah,
don't
I just
do
picked
it.
one. I'm
Don't
like,
do it.
there we good.
Yeah, just pick one.
So can you help us out then? I know you're already going to be busy with your For Real league.
Yeah.
But if we wanted to start a Geek Show league, if
Yeah.
you're going to do a Your Geek Show league, this one,
should
I'll
we
set
do
it
it?
up.
That'd be
I'll set it
awesome.
up because now I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll set it up.
You know what happens? Nicotap is going to win that thing just because
He knows
we
nothing about
overthink
it.
everything.
I
and he's just
picked
gonna
him so cute. I like the way he ran. Yeah, I got like,
What color?
he
are
won't
their, what
even
color,
have like all the positions.
What color are their outfits?
Yeah. But I think that would be fun.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm
I'll
down for
set it
that.
up. Yeah, I'll set it up and,
sure.
and we'll see how it goes. and
real
then
money or
manage it.
fake money.
Oh, how about favors?
No favors because I'm
How
afraid
about
of
just
what I
for
owe you.
bragging rights? Can we do it for bragging rights?
Bragging rights is
Done.
awesome.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
I have a crown.
So how many teams? Excuse me. How many teams in a league, or like how many players in a team? Typically 8 to 10.
Yeah,
or-
the ideal size of a league is 10 to 12 teams. More than that, and you get real thin on the with the players.
I got you.
So, because you only got so
Yeah.
many players to
Because you
draft.
still want to
Right.
have some free
And
agents.
You end up
out
getting
there.
a
Yeah.
bunch of people that I'm like, I did not want
Right.
all these people.
Right, and
I
then
don't
you
even
change
know
your
why I
team
had to pick
right,
them.
And then you change your team name to Sleds R Us.
Yes.
So you want about 10 to 12 teams. Normal buy-in, if you're going to charge people, so that you have a jackpot at the end of the year, is between $50 and $100.
See, ours is always cheap. Like we do one at work, it's like $25. That's I'm like, just so you stop asking me,
Right.
I'll play for $25.
Right. And then you want about 14 to 16 players on that team. And the setups, when you get into like Yahoo or the ESPN sites, they let you kind of customize. So if you wanted to have a fantasy quarterback football league, like nothing but quarterbacks, you could do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's some like our league, we get an extra point. The standard default is 3 points for a field goal, but if they kick it more than 50 yards, we get 4 points.
Okay.
So you can customize the point structure as well.
So Moose will help me set this up. We'll come up with something
That'd
big
be
and
awesome.
easy.
Yeah.
You gonna be in on this, man?
Absolutely.
And we're not
Excellent.
just ahead of time. So here's what we'll do is that we'll go through everybody that we have. So Moose, we'll include Mr. Callahan, Jayton, Nikahotep, and I'll do it. And then we'll pick some people online that are willing. Like we'll because we
Yeah,
we'll
I would
put
love
it
that.
out there
What-
and we'll pick a couple of
Why
people
don't you
online.
guys, like our listeners, like Facebook message us, and if you're interested in joining our league,
Yeah, and then we'll pick a few so we have enough teams. I really think we need to do it without a buy-in because I don't think
Yeah.
that Rob will do it.
Right.
Because he's only going to do it because we're making him. I mean, I've known him. I know
oh.
Rob. He doesn't care about
I like the
football.
bragging rights.
Yeah, so bragging rights will work. If I tell him, and you have to give us money, he's going to back out. There's no way because he already is like, meh, sports.
But,
So
okay,
platform would be
okay,
like a Yahoo
the
Sports
team
thing,
the
then?
team name has to have your name in it.
Okay, we can come up with some caveats.
Yeah.
I'll say it has to have something to do with everybody's particular geekdom. I think that makes sense. And then it also has to have our name in it somehow.
So
So
can mine be pixels?
it could be, and then when you tank, nobody will feel bad for you. Nobody. Will
I
feel
won't
bad
either
for you.
because that's the expectation that I had.
So we'll come up with some specific Your Geek Show caveats on the league and something that'll make it kind of fun.
This will be
for us.
fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
times.
to it. And we're almost coming up on the tail end of the show, so I don't think we're gonna get to Legos today. So if we can bring that up next time, I think that'll be easier, right? So it
Legos.
gives us a chance to talk about the Lego movies.
And Jody can come back.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
sure.
that's why we
Absolutely.
like to just pick one thing at a time, so Jody can come back. So Jody, tell them where they can find the Minnesota Vixen online, and I know that we have social media for the team and such. So where can we
Yes.
find you guys?
We're on Facebook as Minnesota Vixen Women's Football. Our website is mnvixen.com. We have at Minnesota Vixen, that's MINNVIXEN. We have a couple of really big appearances coming up, so stop by the Fan Central building at the State Fair.
Nice.
We'll be there the whole time. It's the same building that the Timberwolves, the Lynx, and the Wild and the Vikings are in.
And that'll work perfectly
yeah.
because it sounds like your Geek Show is actually going to be broadcasting live 2 Saturdays at the State Fair as well. So you guys will have to stop
Yeah,
by,
we'll
and
totally
that'll
stop
be a
by.
good time for you guys to stop by.
Yep.
So that'll be fun.
Yep.
And I know I'm plugging my heart here, but I just want to make sure that people know it's really a great thing to kind of bring your families out to, especially if you have
Little girls. Middle girls.
Yeah. So if you're sitting there going, "Oh, well, I'm tired of Frozen,
Or
and I don't
actually
need a
even little
princess
boys
to
to
free-"
say,
Yes.
look, anybody can play
Yes.
a game.
That's a
game
great
is a
point.
game.
Right.
I had a coworker bring her 4-year-old to a game, and he now wants to be a Minnesota Vixen for Halloween.
That's awesome.
Oh, nice. So he can have like some like mini pads. We'll get
Right?
him come out there.
Totally.
It'll be
They
great.
do have good outfits.
Yes,
We do. Yeah, we do.
they do.
We
It's
even
great.
sell little foxtails and ears. So yeah.
Cute.
Yeah, so we could use more fans. It'll be
Yeah.
great. So we will definitely have you guys on again, and we'll look for you at the State Fair. And we're going to, for sure, we'll set up as you can stay and follow us online and your Geek Show MN on Facebook as we set up our fantasy football team. Next week, we are going to be joined by Denise Felder from Denise Minneapolis Consulting, and she is going to talk with us about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yes.
Wait a second.
Yes. Yes, we're talking Buffy, and not only are we talking Buffy, we will be talking
The
about
movie
Buffy
or
and
the
specifically
shows
the
or-
show.
It's
and
about
Buffy's
killing demons. I do not like the sound of
slaying
this.
quite often. Slaying every opportunity that we have.
You're a protected class now.
Yes. You're lucky now. All of a sudden, you like that the binding that I put on you, huh? Yeah. And we're also gonna, and you'll like this part though, Nikahotep, because we're also gonna to narrow down the conversation. Also talk about Buffy's relationship woes throughout the series.
Oh, good.
Yeah. See, so we'll talk about that. So we'll just talk
choice of
about all the
Poor
guys
choice of
and pick the people that we like best. So we can check in on that next week. Before we close, we want to thank our sponsors, of course, and our partners, Custom T-Shirt Central, Chris McDuffie Photography, and as always, thanks to the Twin Cities Film Fest. Lots of reasons to check out our Facebook fan page, along with all the links to all the people that we work along with. We will also be giving away tickets to Fantastic Four. We will have Run of
That's
Engagement.
fantastic.
Yes. We're a
Yay.
little, we're a little
Yay.
tenuous about our opinion of what this
the
movie
trailer,
will be.
Meh.
Exactly, but it's free, and so at least if you want to see it, you won't have
It's
to come out of
free.
pocket. So, thanks to
Free the mutants, right?
Yes, free the
Free the
mutants.
mutants.
So
Free the
thanks
mutants.
to them for giving us that. So check there for a chance to win, and of course thanks to the Twin Cities Film Fest, Jayden. We appreciate you guys, and I know that you guys have been super busy. So make sure you go to their website often. I'm Miss Shannon. Thank you very much, Moose, for joining us. On behalf of Jayden and Rob, who is not here, and Nikahotep, we look forward to seeing you all next week.